President Obama is clearly a moral man, and he is following, I think, the mindset of other leaders, such as Merkel from Germany, that we have a moral obligation, that we don't turn our back on women and children who have been victimized by terrorists. Here's what he had to say at the G20.
And when I hear folks say that, well, maybe we should just admit the Christians but not the Muslims. When I hear political leaders suggesting that there would be a religious test for which person who's fleeing from a war-torn country is admitted, when some of those folks themselves come from families who benefited from protection when they were fleeing political persecution, that's shameful. That's not American. It's not who we are.
Respond to that, Marco Rubio. He's talking about you and your family coming from Cuba. So, I mean, human beings are human beings, no matter what decade it comes from or no matter what generation it comes from. I understand the security issue. Joe Sestak told us yesterday on this production that there's no doubt the United States has the tools to make sure that we make the right decisions as to who we let into the country. And we have a moral obligation. I lean in that direction. But the security is going to have to be extremely tight, and the vetting process is going to have to be tight. Now, this idea of allowing just Christians into the country was brought up by Bush and also Rubio. But here comes Ted Cruz threatening legislation.
What Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are proposing is that we bring to this country tens of thousands of Syrian Muslim refugees. I have to say, particularly in light of what happened in Paris, that's nothing short of lunacy.
Might be lunacy in his world, but he's going to give us some lunacy legislation. That's what he is going to introduce. How far will it go? Let's turn to Congresswoman Lois Frankel, who is a Democrat from Florida. She is a member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. Congresswoman, good to have you with us.
Good morning. Good to be with you, Ed.
You bet. Do we bring in 10,000 Syrian refugees? Is this going to be a big debate in Congress?
Well, you asked me two questions there. The first is, my own opinion is, we face this refugee crisis both with an open heart and a discerning mind. Obviously, the security of our people are very important, but we have to be a beacon of hope for those who are suffering around the world. So, and I believe we can do both. However, I will tell you this, many of my colleagues do not. And we expect there may even be a fight in terms of passing a budget, because there are going to be some who will try to propose some measures that would prevent the president from bringing in any Syrian refugees.
I mean, this is new territory for the United States. This is banning Muslim Syrian refugees coming to this country, as the president talked about, a religious test. You say that you're with the president on this, that we have a moral obligation to do this. But I think gauging just how big a fight this is going to be in Congress is where the American people are what they're trying to judge right now. You think there'll be a budget fight over this?
Well, there has been talk about that, and a number of the Republican, I think all the Republican presidential candidates have called on our new Speaker, Ryan, to, not to pass a budget that does not include this type of prohibition.
What do you think of all the governors now who are stepping out saying that these Syrian refugees will not be allowed in their state? I guess my first question on that is, do they have jurisdiction over the federal to do that?
Well, let me just start with probably the obvious, which is, we have to take every precaution to ensure that criminals and potential terrorists do not penetrate our borders and are coming in with fake passports or anything like we saw that may have happened in France. But what our public needs to know is that refugees are subject to the strictest entry procedures of any type traveler to the United States. The admission process is very different from other countries and contains requirements that cannot be waived. Before any refugee can resettle in the United States, they must undergo a mandatory in-person interview, extensive security check, and a medical check. And this admission process sometimes takes 18 to 24 months. A lot of these refugees have just been in refugee camps waiting to be processed. Mm-hmm. And what the public also needs to know is that our admission program prioritizes the most vulnerable refugees, especially women and children. So there is a lot of scrutiny going on, and what the public should know is those of us who do support what I would say is a moral, humane policy, we understand why people are frightened, and we also understand that the security of people here have to come first. With that said, opening our doors to the refugees not only is a moral imperative, but the failure to have a reasonable, humane, constitutional policy will create a backlash that we will feel for years to come, because there'll be a whole new group of young people growing up who were subject to horrific attacks in Syria. They will become very alienated, and they will be very susceptible to the call of ISIS.
Well, that is the one thing that the conservatives seem to be throwing out there, such as Ted Cruz, Rubio, and Bush. How do you examine someone's heart? You can have the most thorough process in the world, whether it be 18 or 24 months, but how do you know that they're not a radical? How do you know that they're not jaded and a member of ISIS? That is a tall order, and that's what they fear. And, of course, they're trying to get political gain by playing the fear card. I mean, we've seen this before. It's really a situation we've never seen before, and it's going to play into the next presidency. How big is this going to be, you think, in the 2016 election cycle?
It's very difficult. I mean, if the election was next month, I would say it would be huge. And it still may be. I shouldn't use the word huge. I think one of the political candidates uses that word. But, it could be significant. It may be significant. Right now I think people are quite fearful and very emotional about what happened in Paris. And if they're following, what happened in other, with
Sure.
The Russian aircraft that exploded, a lot of bad things happening. So, but politics is a very interesting game. You don't know month to month what the next crisis will be.
Lois Frankel, Congresswoman from Florida. Good to have you with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks so much. Watching the conservative media, you get the sense. All right, let's put the Muslims over here, let's have the Christians over here, and let's just freaking have at it and have a religious war. That's how it's coming off. That's not doing America any favors. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you this production. We're back tomorrow.